The red and blue police lights reflected off the lake like fireworks frozen in time. And honestly, my heart felt like it was going to hammer a hole straight through my chest as I stood on the porch of my family cabin, backpack still hanging from one shoulder. Four officers already out of their cruisers, hands on their belts like they were bracing for a showdown. And right behind them, Karen, the so-called queen of our HOA, clutching a stack of papers, shrieking at the top of her lungs. There he is, that's the guy. As if I was a wanted fugitive and not a homeowner trying to spend one peaceful weekend in the woods. You know what I mean? She pointed at me with a kind of wild glee, accusing me of trespassing, swearing up and down that I didn't belong, didn't own the place, and shouldn't be here. The officers just looked at each other, then at me, and I took a slow breath, raising my hands, keeping my voice steady, cold even, when I said, "This is my cabin. I've got the permits, the deed, everything." She's lying. But Karen just laughed, that sharp sound that seems to cut through bone, saying I'd been using the cabin without approval and that her lawyer, who had just rolled up in a slick black car, said it was a violation. This lawyer, Tom, walked over with the confidence of a man who thinks he runs the county, pulling out his phone like he was ready to record my arrest, smirking as he told me to prove my right to be there or leave immediately. The tension could have choked a grizzly. Karen folded her arms like the game was already won. Tom tapped his foot, waiting for me to break. But instead I pulled out my folder. Every county permit, the deed, tax receipts, even the original blueprints my dad drew by hand. And what happened next? Well, the whole HOA was about to eat their words. But before I go there, let me back up a sec, because this mess didn't start with flashing lights and sirens. It started a couple weeks ago, with me planning what was supposed to be a quiet trip to the lake. This place my dad built long before HOAs and rules and neighbors who cared more about lawns than kindness. Karen lived 2 doors down, always peeking out from behind the blinds, policing trash bins, lawn heights, parking spaces, you name it. She was the type who'd pick a fight with a tree if it grew the wrong way. I tried to stay out of her path, but trouble, as I learned, sometimes wants you more than you want it. The first warning shot was her standing in my driveway that Friday as I loaded my car, hinting at new HOA rules about cabin usage, making it sound like a friendly heads up, but her eyes said otherwise. Messy? It's my property, I shot back, and her smile just widened. For now. The sunset that night painted the lake gold and pink, and for a few hours, I let myself believe I'd left all that drama behind. But the next morning, a yellow HOA notice was taped to my door, telling me I needed special permission to use my own place for more than 3 nights. I threw it in the fire pit and figured she'd get bored. She didn't. While I was stuck in the city for work, Karen cooked up a story about me abandoning the cabin and breaking rules, so when I finally drove back, it was like pulling up to a circus. Cops, Karen shouting, the lawyer strutting, and the real show hadn't even started. Now, here's where the plot thickens. Let me introduce the cast. Me, Daniel Parker, software guy, just wants to fish and read in peace. Karen Mitchell, HOA president, neighborhood tyrant. Officer Miller, lead cop, a decent guy who's tired of HOA games. Tom Reynolds, the lawyer who never met a suit he didn't like. My sister Sarah, who'd show up later to twist this mess in ways even I couldn't predict. Standing there with my folder, every eye on me, I watched Tom open the first page. His face did this incredible thing where the smugness just slid off like butter on a hot skillet. He flipped through my documents, the permit, deed, zoning approval, renewal confirmation, the works. Karen kept yapping, but Tom wasn't nodding anymore. He looked up, pale, and told Karen, he has every right to be here. Karen's face could have soured milk, but people like her don't give up easy. She switched tactics, whining about new usage limits, calling me disruptive, even though my nearest neighbor is a fish and my only wild parties involve squirrels on the deck. If you've ever dealt with someone who loves power more than people, you know they don't quit. Sure enough, Karen called an emergency HOA meeting, rallied the board, and tried to rewrite history. This time, I walked in ready. She painted me as a menace. Tom the lawyer stood up, reviewing my paperwork for everyone. Fully compliant, he said, voice flat as the lake in August. The room murmured, some neighbors even clapped, but Karen just doubled down, spouting about new rules that weren't legal until county approval. Now, here's the twist. A drone appeared over my property, buzzing like a wasp, streaming live video back to Karen and the board. I filmed it on my phone and posted the footage online. Within hours, my little standoff went viral. People from all over chimed in. Some backed me, some cheered for the HOA, some just wanted more drama. Even Officer Miller got called out to investigate. He wasn't thrilled about the drone, but told me to keep my videos for evidence. Meanwhile, Tom called to politely ask if I'd take down the video. It's already everywhere, I replied, and Tom sighed. Because what was he going to do? Fight the internet. The internet, though, is a funny thing. People rallied around me. At the diner, folks bought my coffee, gave advice, shared stories of their own run-ins with HOAs gone wild. A kid named Maddie told me about the bird feeder her mom got fined for. A fisherman named Hank offered to help fix my mailbox. Every day, more neighbors started telling me about their own grievances, and it turned out Karen's reign wasn't as solid as she thought. But just when I thought things had settled, Karen arrived with workers and a tow truck, trying to chain off my driveway and confiscate my old aluminum fishing boat, my dad's boat. Officer Miller arrived just in time to stop them, telling Karen she was trespassing now. The workers backed down, but then my dock cam pinged. Someone was on my dock, a hoodie, a spark, a rag lit like a fuse. It was Karen's own son, Ryan, about to torch my boat for payback. The cops stopped him just in time, arrested him, and Karen's world finally cracked. She tried to apologize, but I told her straight. It wasn't about rules anymore. It was about her turning neighbors into enemies. The HOA tried to kick me out again, called a hearing, but this time I brought a lawyer, Ms. Alvarez, and she shut them down in 3 sentences: trespassing, harassment, attempted arson. The county started investigating, and Karen's power base started to crumble. But someone didn't like losing. I found a threat letter on my door, tracks in the mud. This was bigger than HOA drama. Karen's late husband owed money to some bad people, and now they were coming for her too. One night, she turned up terrified, chased by 2 men in a truck. Turns out the HOA drama was just the smokescreen for a real criminal mess that we got moved to a safe house. Then the courthouse basement, hiding out while county deputies hunted for the men who wanted Karen to pay her husband's debts. There were shootouts, car chases, power outages. Life felt like a movie you don't want to star in. In the end, the ringleader, Dalton, was killed in a standoff, and Karen, shaken to the core, quit the HOA presidency and decided to sell her house for a fresh start. I thought it was over, but the board tried one last trick. Pressured the county to rezone the lake for commercial development. Bulldozers showed up, a developer named Briggs flashed smiles and cash, and the fight for my cabin became a fight for the whole lake. Neighbors who'd never spoken before united to stop the land grab. Alvarez found proof Briggs was bribing commissioners. Fires broke out. Someone tried to frame me, but the truth surfaced. George, the old acting president, was helping Briggs, and when the smoke cleared, the commissioners voted down the rezoning, and Briggs was arrested for fraud. Ben from the diner became the new HOA president and immediately passed a rule protecting property owners' rights. Karen left for Michigan, looking for peace, and as summer settled in, the lake felt lighter. Neighbors waved, kids swam. The world kept turning. And as I sat on my porch, coffee in hand, watching the sun dip low over the water, I realized what my dad always said was finally true again. Sometimes the fight is worth it. Sometimes the little guy wins, and peace, if you fight for it together, can find its way back home. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or your story in the comments, because I want to know who stuck it out through every twist, every battle, every wild turn. And tell me, what would you have done? Where do you stand when neighbors go to war? Let's hear your thoughts about right and wrong, justice and community, because this story, well, it's still being written.